Now, in a tragic incident that has occurred in the early hours of the 9th of July, a drunk driver drove his Audi over a family of 5 in Vasant Vihar. The family, who was sleeping on the footpath, has reportedly included an 8-year-old. Eyewitnesses told NewsX that the victim suffered quite a few injuries, with the mother of the girl sustaining serious injuries after the car drove over her. The 40-year-old driver, Utsav Shekhar, is a property dealer from Dwarka who admitted to have been driving under the influence. Police have stated the investigation into the matter continues, with them looking into lapses that might have occurred. This marks another drunk driving case that have been on the rise, remember, of late, with over 12,000 hit and run cases reported in Delhi in the last 6 months alone. The question is, what can be done to prevent such cases in the future? Joining us live at this point is Gautam Mukherjee, senior journalist, Dr. Swati Jindal, AOR Supreme Court, also live with us. Ellen Rao, former DCP, Delhi Police, joins us on the broadcast. Let me make a start with you first. Ellen Rao, another hit and run case coming to light. The driver reportedly was driving under the influence. What can be done in this matter to get justice for the victims, the family of 5 that was run over?
Yes, Sudha, this is a very tragic incident. And again, that habit of drinking, driving is not going away from our society. Even that there were stringent provisions in this new laws, BNS, Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita. Because in this case, I think, and it's a hit and run case. It's a very serious case. And in that matter, I think that police is investigating it, and appropriate action is being taken by registering an FIR under appropriate sections. And after that, the person has been arrested. I think there is no bail in this case, because as is an earlier law, there was a bail in this section was 304A. In that case, bail of the accused was granted in the police station, because at that time it was a bailable offense. Now I don't think that is a bail will be granted, because now it's a non-bailable. While committing this fatal accident while drinking, driving, that is a more serious, and I think that the police will take care of this case very strictly, and all evidences are being collected, and after thorough investigation, this case will be sent to the trial as soon as possible.
But you know, Ellen Rao, this was an upscale area. This is Vasant Vihar, which is known as a upscale colony, where there is police presence, where there are barriers, where there is checking. If this is happening in this kind of an area, then what does that really say about the deterrence, the fear of the law?
The fear of the law is, I think that after drinking, that person might not have any sense of a fear in his mind, and overspeeding. This definitely is it's a case of overspeeding and then crossing the victims. That is definitely something very serious. I agree that in a coast locality like Vasant Kunj, if such thing happens, then people definitely are scared of it, that who is safe in where. And in this case also, because this Vasant Kunj roads are, I think, some wide, and even then that deterrent of speed that should be taken care of. I think that the police presence and traffic police presence, that is also might be at that time, but at the time of when the accident took place, then the police presence might not be there, so that enforcement of the speed or enforcement of the person checking while drinking, driving could not be done. That's why this accident, I think, took place.
Okay, let me ask you then, Dr. Swati Jindal, about the law and the fear of the law. Does the law need to be strengthened further? Is that when the fear will come in? Does swift justice need to be meted out in such cases? Is that how the fear of the law will come in? Does policing need to be strengthened? Is that how the fear of the law will come in?
See, as far as I can say, strengthening, making the law more stringent is concerned, we have just about come out with BNS, Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita, which has definitely made the law much more stringent. If you look at the law as it was in the erstwhile IPC, there was, for the act of causing death by rash and negligent driving, the maximum punishment was up to 2 years. Now, the same has been turned into 10 years for the cases of hit and run and not reporting it, vis-a-vis 5 years for the cases of hit and run and reporting it. So, how much more stringent are we talking about? As far as the fear of the police is concerned, police is there, but the police cannot be omnipresent, so to say. We need to understand that at the end of the day, it is the people who have to cultivate this habit of being legally compliant, have to abide by the rules in a country where it is supposed to be a matter of pride that all right, we'll break the line, all right, we'll break the traffic signal. This kind of a mentality has to leave people until and unless there is a change in the thinking process of the people as a whole, where breaking of law is supposed to be uh, an act above the law, where people take pride in the matter that they've broken the law and gotten away with it. Until and unless that mentality changes, we can't really do much.
Yes. Also, Dr. Jindal, is there fast track, justice meted out in such cases or not? Very
Well,
often we speak to families who say that these trials go on for years, and in such cases, obviously, examples should be made so no one repeats it. Should fast track trials be done? Are they being done or not?
see, the provisions are there to fast track justice, so to say. But when we talk about fast track justice, can we actually do it at the cost of justice? That is the question. With the huge pendency of cases in the courts of law, can we actually do away with the process of law just in order to set an example? When we do try to set an example, the defense that comes from the other side is that they're choosing that they're cherry picking. Just because I happen to be driving an Audi, they have picked upon me. What about all those other people who are driving buses and trucks and they're killing hundreds of people every day? So when we think about setting an example, we have to learn to set it properly. The examples must be set on a daily basis, and we cannot really pick and choose people who seem to be affluent and hence they have broken the law without taking into consideration the reason of that particular hit and run. Yes, we do need to set an example, but that example, like I said, must be set for everyone, by everyone, instead of picking and choosing people who belong to a particular strata of the society.
Let me draw you in here, Gautam Mukherjee. Another case, another luxury car, driven rashly, driven under the influence of alcohol, posh Delhi area, 5 people sleeping on the footpath, mowed over. What do you make of this shocking incident? And what should now be done to ensure justice for the victims?
Well, the longer this goes on, the more it seems as if nothing has changed. You had incidents like this 20 years ago. You still have them. High-end cars, drunken driving, people sleeping on the footpath, and all of it put together, and you've got one more case like this. It is difficult to find ways around this except with greater policing. Now, in this case, the person was actually apprehended from the spot. So there must have been some degree of either public participation or the arrival of police fairly quickly in order to apprehend him. What can be done in future? More of the same. It is very difficult to have this kind of thing. Another process, of course, is to prevent people from sleeping on the footpaths near the roads, because they are in a way very vulnerable to such drivers. So it's a combination of not having people who are in a position to be run over, and of course try and prevent drunken driving as much as is possible. Uday.
But an overhaul is needed. A complete overhaul is needed, Gautam Mukherjee. The Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita may have come in with stronger laws, but that's obviously not an effective deterrent, because look what's happened in Delhi.
Well, nothing can deter a person who doesn't take ordinary precautions. You have taxis, you have drivers. This is not a country where you're forced to drive. There is no reason for this kind
Look
of
at the
thing to
statistics,
happen.
Gautam. 12,000 hit and run cases reported in Delhi reportedly in just the 6 months of this year alone.
Yes. Well, it indicates carelessness on the part of the vehicle owners and drivers, inadequate number of policemen, people sleeping on the road. And even if you're talking of hit and run, they happen in broad daylight. They happen, as Ms. Jindal pointed out, with all kinds of vehicles, not necessarily luxury vehicles driven by drunken people late at night. So it is one of the most dangerous places to either walk or be around or even drive. India, it does not follow rules. It is not just a matter of legal deterrence or fines. It is the attitude of the people which is sorely lacking in civic sense.
Yes, let me take that back across to Ellen Rao. Ellen Rao, why don't we see many such incidents abroad is because obviously there is further fear there of the law. The law, of course, is strong, but the policing is strict and strong as well. What is needed to bring in that fear in India as well? What is needed to ensure the fear of the law enforcers as well? Do you believe more policemen are needed on the streets of Delhi at night as well? Do you believe stricter breathalyzer type of checks and tests are needed in the national capital, particularly in sensitive spots? You often see it happening on New Year's Eve and certain other festival nights, but how regularly is it done on a daily basis is the big question.
Uday, if you talk about the foreign countries or some other countries, about the fatal accidents or other violation of the traffic rule, I must tell you, I was in America for 1 month complete in June. I rarely saw any policeman on the roads because the people there are self-disciplined. They don't violate the rules. They don't, if they go for a party and 2-3 persons are drinking, only one person will not drink who will drive that vehicle. So self-defense, self-discipline is most important, which is lacking in our country. More so that engineering of roads are less, vehicles are more in our country. In foreign countries, roads are very wide, and no doubt vehicles also there are very much in number. Rather maybe more than India. But the roads and the road engineering, they are very wide, and this camera, CCTV camera everywhere, technical surveillance is definitely there. But police presence I could not see there because people were self-disciplined. They were not violating the rules. They never drunk and driving. And more important was that if somebody is caught while drinking and driving, his license will be cancelled definitely. And then he will not be able to drive further. And this is much more punishment than even in the imprisonment also. And he will also be imprisoned in foreign countries. But instead of imprisonment, suspension of license is more deterrent and more stringent, I think, action is there. Here in India, it is not there. When we quote some person, then that his license will be definitely valid. Even about 4 or 5 years back, Honorable Supreme Court has passed orders that for the 4 categories, the license should be suspended for some time. That categories are drinking driving, talking on mobile while driving, red light jumping, and over speeding. These 4 categories violations are considered by the Honorable Supreme Court as more serious and more attributing to the fatal accidents. So the police initially were definitely working on those instructions of Honorable Supreme Court, but nowadays I think this enforcement of these instructions or the guidelines of the Honorable Supreme Court are not adhered to properly, and that may be the reason. And more so, if you go for the data and statistics, how many licenses have been suspended or cancelled? This is the most important. When the license is cancelled, that the people will think that they will not be able to drive further, and they can compare with this punishment vis-a-vis that sending into jail. If this case is non-bailable, but anyway, for some time, after some time, 1 month or 15 days or 2 months, he will be released on bail. And more so, why the fear of law is not there, that this case will definitely, as you rightly said, that this case will prolong about more and more years, maybe it may take about 6-7 years to decide. That's why the impact of this punishment, whatever may be punishment after 6-7 years, that impact on the mind of people will not be there because of the prolonged trial court. And this prolonged trial court is because the number of cases are pending in courts. That means that this number of judges are not sufficient to deal with the cases, because we have found lakhs cases all over India which are pending in various courts. And such type of fatal accident, I don't find that before this case, before about 6-7 years, this case will be finalized. That's why after getting bail, this accused who has committed this serious case, he will be either acquitted or maybe punished for some time. So that fear of law will vanish from his mind, and accordingly, other people will also think that like he will get away or he will get sentenced after so many years. Then people think that we will manage to this type of system. And more so, Audi car owner is definitely a very rich and influenced person. He will hire a very senior advocate to save his son, or that may also, because of judicial system, also because of law itself, that any doubt in the mind of judge, if it is created, then he can be acquitted also. So there are so many factors leading to the less fear of mind among the people.
Yes,
as you said.
Yes, I'll take that to Dr. Swati Jindal as well. Dr. Swati Jindal, there is need for self-discipline as well amongst people, as that happens abroad as well, as Ellen Rao was saying. Hardly any policemen on the streets, because citizens also have that fear of law, have that greater sensitization. What further steps are needed to be taken on ground, Dr. Jindal?
I'll tell you what happens today. It is not about having more policemen. In today's era of social media, where everybody, practically every single person, is walking around with a internet-enabled phone, and they can take a video and post it online, and everything gets viral. It's immediate. It's extremely difficult for anybody involved in a hit and run to get away with it, so to say. What we need actually today is some sort of an expedited justice, so that what happens is, once a person gets caught, you remember there are so many such sensationalized hit and runs. There was one in Pune, if I remember correctly. There's so many of them keep coming up at least once in every 3 months. There is so much of hue and cry when that happens, but ultimately everything dies down. So we need to keep the torch burning. What happens is, it's not the problem that whether the person was caught or not. Even if he's caught, he somehow gets away with it. And the fear of the law only subsists as far as the first offense is concerned. If you look at the history, you will realize that once a person who has done it and has gotten away with it, then there is nothing stopping him. He becomes an indomitable force, and he thinks that if I have gotten away with it once, I'll get away with it every time. That is the spirit we need to break, and that is what we need to address today.
All right, let me in fact quickly go back to Gautam Mukherjee as well. Gautam Mukherjee, just compare what happens abroad with what happens in Delhi for a second. Why are such cases increasing in the national capital in India and perhaps decreasing in certain cities abroad? What's the difference, Gautam?
Well, one thought that occurs to me, Uday, is the sheer numbers involved in India. We have a huge population. A lot of people are out there on the streets. There is indiscipline of every kind. There are people jaywalking. There are people jumping across large waist-high barriers. Even then they'll jump across rather than walk a little bit to the crossing. They drive on the wrong side of the road. There are scooters that do not obey red lights, and they're the most vulnerable. You'll see them very often. Scooters just going straight across a red light while other cars are stopped across. So, it isn't one thing. It is a multiple set of circumstances, mainly related to indiscipline and taking a risk which is disproportionate, whether it is drunken driving, whether it is, breaking all these other rules and going down wrong lanes and the wrong way, or across the room, or darting across. This is just commonplace. To drive in India, you have to beware of all of this. So it's statistically probably not as significant compared to the population. But at the same time, when you talk of the total, number of hit and run, the total number of such accidents, they are probably amongst the greatest in the world. It is going to only increase rather than decrease.
Should we fast track such trials, Ellen Rao? Is that the need of the hour as well? We've spoken to victims on previous telecasts as well, and their families on NewsX, and the victims' families lament that these cases often don't see, the end very soon. This fight, this lingering trial just continues and continues.
Uday, let me tell you very fact that in such type of fatal accidents, there are no provision of fast track courts. These cases are being taken away during trial in a routine manner. Fast track courts are meant for the rape cases or some POXO cases or some other important cases. But this fatal accident cases are not taken as a very serious offense in our country, because as Mr. Mukherjee says, that because the population is so much, people are violating the rules themselves also. Like this, in this case, I think that there must be poor people, 5 people who are sleeping on the footpath. That is also very great apathy in our country. And we are always with the victims, definitely, and they want that the justice should be done very expeditiously. But unfortunately, it cannot be done as per the system in our judicial system in our country, lack of judges in our country, and lack of courts also. If judges are there, then we have to be very good infrastructure of the judicial trial courts. That is more important, because if there are no infrastructure for making some more courts, then this lengthy process of trial will go on. And this is one of the most important aspects, where the fear of mind is fear in the mind of the culprits and the person's perpetrators is vanishing. Because, and I also agree with the idea that once the person, Dr. Swati said that once person has gone to jail, and after that his mind becomes so common that he can think that once I have seen the jail, and there will no any much difficulty in the jail. That's why, and he will get away with such type of cases once. Then he will definitely commit. He may be tend to commit another offense like that, because there will be no fear that he will. And moreover, earlier in the earlier age, well, going to jail was considered to be the very bad thing. But nowadays, I think because so many politicians are lingering on jail, people think that when the politicians are in jail, then there will be hardly any impact on their reputation or image if they are sent to jail also. This is also one of the fact that violation of traffic rules by the traffic by the vehicle owners. Most of the rules are being broken by the two-wheeler scooters, cyclists, and even the small car owners or big truck drivers. And even then the population, the road users, any public also, they also violate some rules and leading to such type of cases in our country. And as Mr. Mukherjee said, it tend to increase.
Okay.
And that's
Point taken. We've run totally out of time. Let's leave it at that. My thanks to all of our guests for joining us on this discussion. Let's slip into a short break.